You've got it locked to HTLA Radio 1, New York.
This program is intended for mature audiences only. If you have any homicidal or suicidal feelings, please consult a doctor before listening to this program.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be to you. It's right now to me, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, which of course is a Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2015. So let's see, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. Oh, right. It's time for the one and the only Crash Talk. And today's Crash Talk is Mr. Weed, huh? Do you like the Mr. Weed, man? Yeah, we talk about weed. Maybe we talk about some kilograms of weed. We talk about some stuff, no? Yeah, well, you sit back for the next 90 minutes, man. I'm going to set you up with some really good stuff about the weed, man. We're going to set it up. It's going to be good. Stay around. Well, you know, you got it on the right station, man. Yes, you do. It's Crash Talk, and tonight, Mr. Weed. Yeah, what are we talking about, Mr. Weed, you might say? The hell is that? Some new character you've come up with there, buddy? Well, kinda, yeah. Is that new character that's sitting there saying to himself, well, geez, what the hell are we waiting for? Yeah, not even kidding. As you may or may not have guessed tonight, Crash Talk is, of course, coming to you live from HTLA Studio 2 in downtown Manhattan, and it's lovely here. It's 25 degrees and clear, and not a bad night, but not great. Could be warmer by about, 60 more degrees. I'd be happier. So I'll digress from that and stay in the studio here and give you the 2020 on 420, shall we? Yes. And, of course, what am I talking about? My God, this guy's rambling on. What is he indeed going on about tonight? Well, it's about pot, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the weed, ganja. Ooh. The good stuff, the bad stuff, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Well, I got a lot to say, actually. A lot to say. What we're going to be covering in the show tonight, of course, is the good side, the bad side, and the ugly side of marijuana, I guess. Of course, now, the governments all over the United States are being pressured more and more to legalize marijuana. And while it's not legal in Canada, I can certainly speak to 40 years of history with the old sweet leaf and the Canadian populace at large, because they don't really care if you smoke it. They don't really care if you grow it. And they don't really care. Full stop. So I figured, hey, well, this is all going in the United States and everybody all up in arms and scared and worried and all that other good stuff, I figured it was your friendly Canadian's duty here to come on tonight and tell you, hey, man, it ain't that bad. That's right. So that's essentially what I'm doing tonight on my lovely show. Yes, I am Canadian. I come from a country where pot use is 4 times that of the global rate. Yeah. Marijuana use in Canada is the highest in the industrialized world and more than 4 times the global rate. Yeah, absolutely. So I thought, yeah, well, okay, this gives me some experience, I guess, to speak from. I've grown it before. I've dealt it before. I've smoked it before. I've done it all before, so I'm your guy. I'm the one to talk to. Statistics Canada, of course, also relates pot to risky teen behavior. We'll look into that story, as well as marijuana use in Canada. Which province tokes the most? Yeah, that's kind of interesting, too. Actually, the numbers there kind of blew me away because, of course, it's not British Columbia, where I'm from, which is like the growing capital of the entire universe. But it's not there, no. But we'll get into that. Got a good show set up for you, long show. 90 minutes of just pure crash talk and goodness here for you tonight, so don't be going nowhere. I'll have to get my boys to come and hunt you down. But first up, let's talk about America, shall we? Let's talk about the good old USA, of where I obviously no doubt reside now, and, well, I thought my golden pot days were behind me, but now it seems maybe not. No, because there's more and more. Oh, well, we'll legalize this, we'll legalize that in California, yeah, Colorado, yeah, New York State, you bet. But you guys are doing it in such a, I don't know, what's the word, retarded, childlike way, I guess. What I'm speaking to, of course, is the whole medicinal marijuana. The hell is that? Well, it's a number of things. Yes, you can get the leafy stuff, but you can also get in the medical varieties, I guess hash oil. You can, of course, get your pot in pill form, although why the hell you'd want that, I don't know. And, everybody's saying, oh, well, medical marijuana is so much higher quality, a better grade. Yeah, no, it's not. And I can also speak to that experience directly, too. You ain't knowing what you're talking about until you're talking about some pure strains of Mexican red hair or Thai stick or, well, a number of other varieties that, when grown properly and in a cultured, rich environment, which Canada, of course, is, you come up with stuff that's second to none in the world. And not that I've actually had a chance to sample this medicinal stuff, but from all the people I talk to who have tried this and have got prescriptions for it and all that good stuff, simply by going to the doctor and saying, I can't sleep at night. Yeah. That's all it takes. The doctor can write you a prescription and you can go get your medical marijuana. It's okay, but it's not as good as the stuff I'm talking about. And because of the first story tonight that I'm going to bring you, I'm kind of raising the hand and asking the question, wait a minute, why are we going with all this pharmaceutical cultivated stuff by certain growers who get to benefit from all this when there's much better grades, better qualities, and indeed better strains out there to make your high times even better that are getting passed over, missing the boat, as it were. Well, in Denver, Colorado's marijuana users are helping to buy new roofs, boilers, and security upgrades for public schools across the state as the first round of special pot taxes gets allocated later this year. Yeah, see? The state's voters in 2012 legalized pot sales and taxed them heavily, in part because the constitutional amendment promised that $40 million a year would go towards school construction across the state. In the first full year of sales, however, the state expects to collect only about $17 million in special school taxes levied on the marijuana industry. Still, it's better than what the state collected the year before, which, of course, was nothing. Well, the people who are smoking marijuana before legalization still are, but now they're paying taxes, says Governor John Hickenlooper. There's a name you can say when you're stoned. Oh, dude, man, that Hickenlooper, far out. Yeah, I'll digress, or digress in this case. Thank you. Overall, Colorado collected about $63 million in marijuana taxes in 2014 on an industry worth about $700 million. Thank you very much. Much of that tax money goes directly to the state's general fund, not to the specific school construction account, of course. No, why would we do that? The school construction money comes from a 15% tax levied on the wholesale sales from growers to recreational marijuana dealers. Yes, see, there's the recreational, and there's the medicinal, and then there's everybody's got their hand in this. You knew they would. Much of the rest of the tax money is being dedicated towards drug abuse, education, research, and substance abuse treatment, because Colorado was the first state to legalize and tax recreational marijuana sales. Lawmakers across the country are closely watching its experiences. It is money we're trying to put to good use, says Senator Pat Stedman, a Democrat and member of the Colorado Legislature Budget Writing Committee. We had no tax money to combat these ills when it was being sold illegally. A declaration of Vermont policymakers visited Denver this month as the Green Mountain State considers legalization, the latest in a string of visitors curious to better understand how Colorado is handling the end of marijuana prohibition. Driving the Vermont delegation's visit is an independent report suggesting Vermont could see new tax revenues worth $20 million to $75 million annually, in part paid by pot tourists from the Massachusetts, New York, and New Hampshire states. Our assumption is that it would take the industry a few years to ramp up, said Scott Newell, director of the Office of Capital Construction for the Colorado Department of Education. Washington State, which also legalized recreational marijuana, also expects to see its tax collections grow over the coming years. Washington expects to collect about $694 million in state revenue through the middle of 2019. This according to state budget projections. Although it collected only about $40 million in recreational marijuana taxes, sum in total, in 2014. In Colorado, Newell's office oversees the marijuana money being dedicated towards school construction. He said he expects to have about $17 million to hand out in his first round, with the $40 million annual allotment available in a few years. In Colorado, a small rural public charter school could be built for $10 million, he said, while an urban high school could cost $100 million or more. Where the heck are they getting this? Who's the contractors? Like Scarface? $100 million for a high school? Somebody's high. Yeah, somebody's smoking something there. What do you got it paved in gold? Oh, right. It's probably for all those Saudi Arabian chic high school students that have immigrated here and need to go to high school. I could see that being $100 million, you bet. There's a lot more sales taxes being generated than excise taxes. The sales taxes don't go to this program, he said. There's been a common misconception on marijuana tax. Colorado policymakers in 2014 discovered that far fewer people than expected switched from medicinal marijuana to recreational marijuana once it was legalized. So you see, now we're seeing this sway now. See, most states you can get medical marijuana, but most states also don't have legal recreational marijuana. And of course, that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the show. All that Mexican red hair and tie stick. That's the good stuff, kids. That's the stuff you want. This pharmaceutical stuff is no doubt, churned out by Upjohn or any of those lovely drug companies that wouldn't stand for any money to be made in the drug business without their fists in it. Make no mistake. So, yeah. So I'm going to be fist up in the air for the man, the man that I want to do the majority of pot sales, which is the everyman. What's stopping you and me from getting some seeds, getting some good soil, getting some hydroponics, and getting busy and making some money? Can't tell me that this country has no shortage of people who have drive and ambition, and all they need is a direction. And they, too, can enjoy capitalism at its finest here in this great country, couldn't they? But no, those pharmaceutical companies, they would have a problem with that. But it's nice to see that recreational marijuana is actually happening, gang. Yeah. The medical marijuana is actually taxed at a far lower rate, and most heavy users opt to spend $15 on a state-issued red card, allowing them to buy medical pot. In most cases, the marijuana itself is exactly the same. A study commissioned by the state found that in some ski towns, tourists were buying 90% of the recreational marijuana sold. In part because users aren't switching, the state's tax collections are below predictions. And some home growers are exempt from the state's tax system. Ooh, excellent. Home growers are exempt from the state tax system. There you go, America. Don't tell me this unemployment rate anymore. Don't tell me you're all starving and you're slaving away for 16 hours a day at Burger King for $8 an hour. You trust Uncle Crash. You just go get yourself some seeds. If you need somebody to hook you up, email producer at HTLA Radio 1. I'll hook you up. A state study said the gray market of home growing is a factor in dragging down tax collections since illegal transactions remained untaxed. Ooh, yes, those are illegal transactions now. You see how they did that? You see what they did there? Yeah, yeah, right. Well, legalization advocates say there are always bound to be growing pains, but they point out the irony that some Colorado policymakers are peeved the state collected less marijuana tax than expected. This is an industry, after all, that operated totally illegally just over a year ago. There are hundreds of millions worth of marijuana sales now taking place in licensed tax-paying businesses instead of on the underground markets, said Mason, T-Vert of the Marijuana Policy Project, which backed Colorado's legalization efforts. The tax revenue is a bonus, but our overall goal was to eliminate the underground market. Well, sir, I don't know how you could possibly ever eliminate the underground market because, A, it's the underground market. B, there's always going to be a demand, and I would submit further that these little medical marijuana places that crop up, these little boutique places that try to be like the Starbucks of weed. Of course, I'm making reference to a recent Morgan Spurlock documentary specifically about this issue, the medical marijuana, how you get it, how you go through getting it, what kind of stock they carry, and all this stuff. And you look at the place. Well, all the places, actually. They've got security and doormen that look like they're, mafioso Joes. And, yeah, it's almost funny because, of course, these doormen and these muscle for these places are so stereotypical television mobster muscle. It's not even funny. And, you'd think once they've legalized it, they would try to, get rid of some stigmas and stereotypes surrounding it now that it's not that misunderstood taboo anymore. But what do I know? What do I know? So there it is. That's the tax model at work there. And it's a good story in the sense that, of course, these tax dollars are going to help build schools. It's very sad that some sick little political shyster has gotten in there and has stated that a high school magically cost $100 million now. That's a little stunning. I have to wonder how many pounds a day of weed he's sucking back, because you'd have to say that, and you'd have to believe that, quite frankly. It's a school. It's not a nuclear missile facility. Come on. Well, that's the opening ender for the opening segment here on Crash Talk. But have no fear. Oh, no, I got lots on this for you. When we come back, we're going to talk about Canadian pot use and that 4 times the global rate. The global. Damn it, Scotty. Global, I said. Back in 2.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk. HTLA Radio 1.
What if there was a coffee that was sourced from some of the world's most renowned growing regions? Abundant with rich, fertile soil. What if this coffee was picked at the perfect moment, then packed meticulously and shipped carefully to be roasted under the watchful eye of coffee masters? What if it was expertly blended, ground, and sealed, ensuring maximum flavor and freshness, then brewed in small batches and always served fresh within 20 minutes, just the way you like it? Now, what if this coffee just happened to be the coffee you already know and love? Tim Hortons. Always fresh. Always great tasting coffee.
White Rum has a new captain. Introducing the all-new Captain Morgan White Rum. 5 times distilled for a smoother taste.
The hot new accessory? Brows that wow. New from Maybelline, New York, it's Brow Drama, our first sculpting ball brush with tinted gel. Just sweep, then sculpt for bolder, sculpted brows. New Brow Drama. Get the look at Maybelline.com. Maybe it's Maybelline.
In this fast-paced, digital everything life, there's nothing like experiencing the world's finest journalism in its original form. So sign up today for as little as $3.80 a week to receive the greatest newspaper in the world and all the incredible experiences that come with it.
When we arrived at our hotel in New York, the porter was so incredibly careless with our bags. And the room they gave us, it was
beautiful.
A broom closet.
But the
worst part was the shower. My wife drying herself with the
Egyptian cotton towels.
Shower curtain defined that whole vacation for her. Don't just visit New York.
Visit TripAdvisor New York.
With millions of reviews, a visit to TripAdvisor makes any destination better.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
Hey, Sonny, it's the heat. We got to get out of here, man.
Oh, yes. The big drug bust is on here at Crash Talk tonight. So, yeah, you are listening to HTLA at Radio 1 New York, 9:24 in the p.m. on Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2015. 26 degrees now, Central Park. Clear skies. It's not bad. Yeah, we could live with that. And if we sparked up a doobie, we could live a whole lot better. Oh, yeah. So yeah, tonight on the big show, of course, we're giving you the lowdown, the goods, as it were, on legal marijuana. For God's sake, give those boys at Miami Vice a little less work, huh? How about it? Yeah. So we're talking about marijuana on the old show, and me being me, I figured, hey, we can probably help these guys out with this. I'm from Canada, man. We've got this pot thing down. Yes, we do. We knows what we doing. and certainly when it comes to, the good stuff, we got that down. We know what we're doing. So you just listen to Uncle Crash. He'll fix you up, baby. And, of course, I have to mention that tonight's show is brought to you by Tim Hortons New York City, now with 8 fine locations in the city to serve your coffee and big good needs. And trust me, after a couple of hits of the old 420 here, you'll be wanting some donuts pretty damn quick. So, look to Tim Hortons to fix you up, baby. That's right. So before the break there, we talked about, some of the plus sides of the legalization and the approved legalization for medical use. And, of course, I was also talking about Morgan Spurlock's documentary there that he did about these medical marijuana distribution stores, I guess you could call them, that really look like Starbucks for weed. And when I'm talking Starbucks for weed, I'm not just talking that, they've got the nice, what do you call them, the hardwood floors and the nice plants and all that good stuff. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just not. What I am talking about is that whole, I don't know, West Coast nouveau riche kind of, I don't know, I was actually kind of looking around for maybe a Nagel print on the wall somewhere. It was very, yeah, and I guess if you don't know who Nagel is, well, you won't understand what I'm talking about, but suffice it to say, it's just like Starbucks for pot, yeah. And you can get, it's not like, you go see a guy about a guy and you pass some money and you get a little green baggie and out the door you go, man. It's not like that. No, they have retail sales counters, much like a jeweler, with all of their wares under glass. And they have these wide ranges of varieties of exotic sounding different kinds of things, including, I must add, flavors like chocolate and vanilla, hence Starbucks. Flavors like chocolate and vanilla, various names that they've come up with that it's like they're trying to be the cool kids. Back when I was in school, there were some kids who took a tin of tobacco and they added a bunch of green food coloring and they mixed it all up and then dried it all out and put it in little baggies and were selling it to the other kids at my school for like $5 and stuff. And ooh, that was the big thing. No, these guys are putting it like it's almost like even less than Starbucks. It's almost more like a health food store. They've got special little displays set up for certain flavors of the month and all this kind of crap. And no end, of course, they have these pamphlet walls that, they're just walls of pamphlets that, they're government pamphlets or they're pamphlets from the actual outlet themselves talking about, things like responsible use and all this other kind of BS. Yeah. And, of course, on the medical marijuana side, they do have, you have a quota. You can only get so much per month on your card, as it were. So, you're restricted there. And there's quite a few other restrictions, too. Now, states that just say to hell with it and legalize it, like Washington State and California, you're not restricted to that. You can grow your own in most states that have already legalized this, and that's why I say, you need some seeds, let me know. Uncle Crash will hook you up. But seriously, it's just a situation of, if you were living a lifestyle where you may need this, I've heard a lot of tall stories around reasons that people need the medical stuff. And I'm sure there's no shortage of doctors out there that have heard all those stories too. Oh, I can't sleep and I'm depressed and I have nightmares and I get headaches and yet, duh, so does everybody. Next window, take a number or something. Get out of my face. But these are the reasons, if you will, that medical marijuana gets prescribed in this country. So you have to ask yourself. You do. You have to ask yourself the question. Is it a predisposition that you have to be whiny in order to get medical marijuana prescriptions? Because really, those kind of things, I'm sorry. It's all great for the migraine headache sufferers. There's been countless studies, actually, about marijuana constricting blood vessels in and around the brain and head. And of course, migraine sufferers wouldn't want that now, would they? No. No, drugs like Imitrex will serve you far better to kick the living crap out of that migraine headache, I can tell you. And what about the other ones? Well, I just can't sleep. Really? You can't sleep. That's funny. Back in the day, I'm talking, 1950s, 60s, 70s, hell, even into the 80s, there was a lot of labor that was hard labor every day. I used to do some of those jobs when I was a kid. The kind of jobs where you're up, 6 a.m. and you're out the door and it's not even daylight out yet, and you get onto the job site at 7 a.m., whatever the job is, and you go underground or crawl in the bowel of a ship. I remember that was one job I had. I used to work for the local dockyard, and we had this contract to do a bunch of Navy ships, and they put me down, 7 a.m. in the morning. They put me down into these bulkheads, which were only accessible by a little, basically a 2-foot hole in the steel. And you'd crawl through all of these sections and go all the way as far forward in the ship as you could. And you had these compressors and sprayers with you, and you'd just spray down all the insides of the bulkheads. Now, there was next to no light, no breathing respirators or anything else. And what were we spraying in there? Well, I'm glad you asked, Uncle Crash, because he can tell you. Lead paint. Yeah, lead paint. Yeah. And you're dragging that hose and that compressor gear and stuff all through these dark little things all day, and you're spraying around lead paint and, breathing it, because they didn't give you any breathing apparatus because, who cares? You're just a $10 an hour worker or something, aren't you? Actually, no, it was more like $6. So I'd do this job, and I'd work all day, and lunchtime would come around, and I'd already feel like I had worked 2 days straight. And, we went back down after lunch and continued and worked right through till 5 o'clock, and that was the end of the workday. And let me tell you, when you come home, it's about all you can do to get dinner down your throat, maybe have a bath if you've got the energy, and then die in bed. Only to get up, of course, the next morning, which comes all too soon, and you're back at it again. Yeah. And yours truly lasted about 3 weeks doing that job before I just couldn't do it anymore. But let me tell you, through that period of time, I had no problem sleeping. But you see, we don't do that kind of stuff anymore. And more, with the advent of unions and safety councils and everything else, the worker, even doing laborious jobs, is doing less and less physical labor. And don't even get me started on, the corporate world or indeed Burger King. You want to talk about sedentary job positions, that would be the place to start. I think we're just too sedentary. I think that's why more and more people are suffering from things like insomnia and all that other good stuff. Case in point, I've got a good friend of mine who's got an injured back, and he's a veteran, and he's been doing a lot of suffering and a lot of dealing with the VA and, I guess more suffering because of that. And he can barely ever sleep. But that's because of severe back pain. And the fact that because of his injuries, he's not as active as he'd like to be at his age. So there you go. So really, when the patient comes to the doctor and says, I can't sleep at night, I think it's probably incumbent on the doctor to say, hey, what's your lifestyle like? Yeah? Do you go out and run around the block 5 times a day? Do you go walk the dog? Do you, what do you do? Just sit in an office chair all day? Do you sit in the car and drive to work and then sit in the car and drive home? And when you're at work, you're just sitting all day. And then when you come home, you're just sitting all night. What kind of lifestyle are you leading there as my patient? Let me know. I can probably find many different ways to, fix your sleeplessness. Really what I'm getting to here, ladies and gentlemen, is it's almost like we're fostering this, let's make excuses why I need medical marijuana so I can just buy pot. And I don't think that's right. No. I mean, how is that right? It's not right. If you want to smoke pot and it's legal in your state, just go do that. this conforming to state rules and paying state taxes and everything else. Although it's great that the taxes are going to things like schools, but there's a lot more money being generated there for the government, and where's that going? Right? See? There's something else there. Yeah. So, food for thought, things to keep in mind. Now, Canadian pot use, is 4 times the global rate. Now, you've got to kind of understand a couple of things. First of all, in the United States right now, I think we're up to 320 million is our population of our fair country here. 320 million. In Canada, it's 32 million. So think of Canada as about 10% total size of the U.S. in terms of people. It's a very important factor when dealing with some statistics that I'm about to talk about. So keep that in mind. Now, we're 1/10 the size of the U.S. and Canada, but the pot use is 4 times the entire industrialized world's global rate. Now, you got to understand something else, too. That doesn't mean every Canadian is smoking bongs and huffing weed and everybody's ganja city. That's not the case. No. So, kind of some things to keep in mind before we get into this next dealio. Just thought I'd let you know that. Now, marijuana use in Canada is the highest in the industrialized world, yes, more than 4 times the global rate, according to a report from the United Nations. The UN study even suggests that Canadians use marijuana at a rate double that of the Netherlands, where, of course, it's legal to buy and sell the drug for personal use there. The report also says that cannabis use around the world appears to have stabilized and appears to be declining in North America. A plunge in use by Ontario high school students was cited as a factor in the trend. The World Drug Use Study by the UN Office on Drugs and Crime said that 16.8% of Canadians aged 15 to 64 smoked marijuana or used other cannabis products in 2004, the most recent year for which statistics are cited. Marijuana possession remains illegal in Canada, despite years of recommendation by parliamentarians to decriminalize it. As a result, tens of thousands of people have criminal records for possession. This is true. The Canadian Press reported that arrests for marijuana possession in several Canadian cities increased between 20 and 50% last year in 2013. The report cited police officials as saying the jump on arrests is linked to the Conservative government's decision to drop a Liberal bill that would have decriminalized the possession of small amounts of marijuana. Everyone was waiting for what was going to happen. There'd be no use clogging up the court system with that decriminalization bill sitting there. Well, when that was defeated, I'd say it was business as usual, says Terry McLaren, president of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. The UN study, using the most recent statistics collected from each country, although some dated back almost a decade, estimated that 3.8% of the world's population aged 15 to 64 used cannabis in 2005. That was about 159 million people, down slightly from 162 million the previous year. The data shows Canadian usage fifth after Zambia, 17.7% in 2003, Ghana in 21.5% in 1998, Papua New Guinea, and Micronesia, which tied for first place at 29% each in 1995. The Canadian statistics compared to 2005 rates of 8.7 in England and Wales, 12.6 in the United States, 8.5 in Israel, 10.7 in Jamaica, and 6.1 in the Netherlands, where possession and use of the drug is legal. Now, in some countries in East and Southeast Asia, such as Korea, Singapore, and the Middle East, places such as Oman and Qatar, cannabis use is negligible. The report said cannabis compromises by far the largest illicit drug market on the planet. The study also noted a 38% dip in cannabis use among U.S. 12th graders between 1979, when marijuana use peaked, And, of course, 2006, a 19% drop in use by Ontario high school students between 2003 and 2005 was also noted. The report also said that there was slightly less trafficking of cannabis from Canada into the United States in 2005. This could indicate the cannabis production stabilized or even declined slightly in Canada following large production increases in previous years. Citing Canadian government estimates between 2000 and 2004, production in Canada more than doubled. However, the report also suggested that the altered trafficking trend could also indicate that organized crime groups have relocated to the American Pacific Northwest and California to avoid tightened border controls. 40% of Canadian cannabis is produced in British Columbia, 25% in Ontario, and 25% in Quebec, the report noted. Now, a couple of things to remember here, okay? While people like you and me may, go out and grow the stuff, and we're all cool and stuff, and that's okay. And, if we want to harvest a couple of trees and bag a couple of bags and share it with our friends, that should be all good, right? But there's another side to this. That's the biker connection. I'm going to go for our second commercial break, but when we come back, we'll get into the biker connection and what that actually means and what that means as far as, legalizing marijuana and indeed the non-prescription production. We'll be back in 2.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1.
Glasses. White Rum has a new captain. Introducing the all-new Captain Morgan White Rum. 5 times distilled for a smoother taste.
The hot new accessory, brows that wow. New from Maybelline, New York, it's Brow Drama, our first sculpting ball brush with tinted gel. Just sweep, then sculpt for bolder, sculpted brows. New Brow Drama. Get the look at Maybelline.com.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Good morning. Welcome to Tim Hortons Cafe and Bake Shop, where fresh always tastes better. What can I make you this morning?
How about our new flatbread breakfast paninis? Made fresh, just for you, with your favorite breakfast ingredients on maple or multigrain flatbread, then grilled to hot, melted perfection. Just $2.99. Who couldn't warm up to that?
Tim Hortons Cafe and Bake Shop, where quality really does meet value.
In this fast-paced, digital everything life, there's nothing like experiencing the world's finest journalism in its original form. So sign up today for as little as $3.80 a week to receive the greatest newspaper in the world and all the incredible experiences that come with it.
When we arrived at our hotel in New York, the porter was so incredibly careless with our bags. And the room they gave us, it was
beautiful.
A broom closet.
But the
worst part was the shower. My wife drying herself with the
Egyptian cotton towels.
Shower curtain defined that whole vacation for her. Don't just visit New York.
Visit TripAdvisor New York.
With millions of reviews, a visit to TripAdvisor makes any destination better.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
Oh, yeah. We are back on the big program. Yes. Good old boys from Miami Vice coming to crack down. That's what we're doing. Well, welcome back to HTLA Radio 1 and a Crash Talk for this Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2015. Still 26 degrees Central Park. Nice and clear. And Tim Hortons, New York City. 8 locations in the city to serve your coffee and baked good nummy needs. Yeah. So today on the big show, we're of course talking 420, legalization, marijuana, pot, your tax dollars at work, all that good stuff that you can't get, well, without a prescription, of course. Yes. I am the host of Crash Talk, Chris Crash Jesus Taylor, and I'm with you here on through the night. Yes. I'll just go until midnight or something. No, I'm kidding. It's a 90-minute show, damn it. And I keep getting email, actually, at producer@htlaradio1.com. Thank you. Wanting to know where the Crash Jesus name came from. I've been accused of everything from starting my own cult to being a reverend in the state of Ohio. And to clarify, because I must clarify, Crash Jesus, actually kind of a funny story. We, back in 2010 is, of course, when we launched HTLA Radio 1. And in 2010, you know, I was like, oh, hey, cool, I'm going to host radio shows. Right on. Okay, well, that's about the only thing in my life I haven't done aside from brain surgery. So, yeah, why not do that? Okay. So I was goofing around one night. I'm doing Google searches, checking out radio studios and gear and people and watching, you know, different radio personalities working the magic, as it were, on the microphone on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I was doing my homework. And, well, I don't know. I just came across radio names. I did a search for radio names in Google, and it returned a whole bunch of things called random radio name generators. Yeah. These are websites that you go to, and you know, the things is, you know, enter your full name here. That's all it says on the entire page. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I put in my Christopher John Taylor. Boom. There you go. And the random radio name generator did its, 20 seconds of thinking and came back with my radio name, which, of course, was Crash Jesus. Now, I don't know where that came from. I can't tell you. They, of course, have their trade secrets for how they put together these random radio names, but that's what it came back with. And, the good old wife happened to see that and laughed her butt off for about an hour and a half, and then told me that was it. That was my name. So, so ever since then, Crash Jesus. Yeah, that's the the radio handle you can find me at. So that's the there you go. That's the story once again on Chris Crash Jesus Taylor, right there for you. But the show tonight is, of course, about Mr. Weed. Yes, marijuana, the green stuff, the 420. Aye, laddies, let's get high. Just before the break, we were talking about some Canadian statistics in regards to consumption and age groups and all that good kind of thing to kind of give you an idea of where I come from. And, when I was a kid, I would probably say that 3 or 4 out of, back then, back in the old days, we used to have classrooms of about 25 kids. Didn't have none of the 60 kids to a class thing. We didn't. We had like 20, 25 kids in a class. There'd be a teacher. There'd be a teacher's aide or an assistant teacher. And that would be just some, kind of hippie-ish guy or girl that sat around the back of the classroom and helped us with art projects and the like. But, that was the classrooms in Canada back then, 25 kids, all happily learning. Everybody getting the attention they needed for their education, which is, part of what made me such an awesome man that I am today. So there you go. And out of those 25 kids in a class, that would be your class. You'd be with them through the year and, of course, go up to the next grade together. And, seldom, sometimes you'd have a couple of kids move away, and sometimes you'd have a couple of kids move to our neck of the woods, and there'd be a new kid or two in class every year. Yes. And, so, that was good. It was good. But, I can tell you pretty much any time that I thought about it or wanted to, I could pretty much figure out 3 kids in the class that I'd be able to get some weed off of. Either they were selling it themselves or, this was really cool, some of them had parents that grew it and wouldn't even sell it. No. Yeah, we'd just go by their place. Oh, yeah, dude, here you go, man. Far out. And they were, hippie parents. That's what you get. You get hippies, man. Free love. And they were giving the love free. And hey, who was us not to take it, right? So yeah, we grew up on pot. It was no big deal. And I don't think I'm suffering any mental collapses from smoking it. Of course, let's be fair. I wasn't just tooting on the stuff, 24/7 either. There, of course, were some kids that I grew up with who did. And yeah, I'll grant you, they got kind of dumb, kind of dopey, kind of lost their personalities, and you kind of didn't talk to them anymore because there was just nothing to talk to them about because they were always in their basement getting high, listening to Pink Floyd, The Wall, or Dark Side of the Moon, or indeed the Alan Parsons Project. Yeah. So, yeah, that eye in the sky, looking at you. Yeah, I can blow your mind. I had my nights up in the grandstands listening to Pink Floyd, The Wall. You bet. Higher than a kite? Absolutely. But as a lifestyle, as something I had to have, no. In fact, for the longest time there, I guess between the ages of, I'd say probably 14 and not even much past 17 or 18, Friday nights, Saturday nights, you could find me, drunk and stoned somewhere at somebody's party having a good time. But a way of life? Smoking a bowl Sunday morning? No. Got to do it Wednesday afternoon? No. I guess I would be what you call a recreational user. And yes, as I've kind of alluded to, there were people that went to excess on it. Yeah. And, but you see, here's the thing. They got doped up. They hung out in their basements all the time. They didn't really go out. They didn't really talk to anybody unless they were with somebody who was just as stoned as they were, so that they could kind of relate to each other, because the stuff that they were talking about was just like, what? It was like, what? But, yeah. So, take that for whatever it's worth. But, I said when we got back from the break, we were going to get into, of course, the darker side of marijuana. And this came when I told you about 40% of Canadian cannabis being produced in British Columbia, where I'm from, and 25% in Ontario and 25% in Quebec. Interesting kind of historical facts here you should know. All right? There was biker gangs back in those days. Yes, I'm talking the early to mid 70s. And, of course, they weren't too organized. No, they just kind of rabble-roused their own towns. Groups like Satan's Choice is a fine example out of Kingston. They pretty much stuck to Kingston and Toronto and did their dirty deeds and lived that, Sons of Anarchy biker life, and that was pretty much it. They weren't running guns from Ireland. They certainly weren't running drugs from, Colombia and any of that kind of thing. But when pot came around in, those roaring 60s, and then subsequently into the 70s, of course, the biker gangs, they're all like, hey, dude, yeah, we always got weed. And they did. And you could buy it from them, but it wasn't their main source of income. No, they were out doing armed robberies or home break-ins or any one of a million other criminal things to get money. Pot was just kind of that consumable that was always around. It's like a pack of smokes. It was really no bigger of a deal than that. And So, what you had was that. Well, then in the mid to late 70s and into the early 80s, of course, well, our good brothers to the south, the good old USA, yes, I'm talking about the Hells Angels, they reared their ugly heads. And what did they do? They went rolling north, gang. Yes, they did. And they hit every one of those little unorganized biker gangs, and they either patched them over or they killed them. Now, interesting fact here. Between Ontario and Quebec, there had been ongoing biker feuds for, well, decades, since the 40s. Reason for this is because of that whole separatist thing, that whole French-Canadian, we hate you, you bastard Canadians. And the Canadians like, F off, man, go away. Yeah, so they've never liked each other back and forth. And of course, Quebec, they had their bike gangs too, right? Well, Hells Angels came and kind of steamrolled over all that shite. They just kind of dealt with that. Yeah, enough. We're patching you over. You're part of the HA, or you don't get to live anymore. So, as you can imagine, most of them patched over and became Hells Angels. 1% affiliated. Yeehaw. Well, of course, with that came what? Well, it came organized crime. Yes. No longer were these little bike gangs seated all over Canada, all individual and doing their own little thing. No, now they were this network brought together by the bigger network all through the United States. And what do you think happened then? Well, I'll tell you. Cocaine, machine guns, you name it, all the bad stuff started coming up to the Canadian border. Yeah, we started getting all that good stuff. Yes. Machine guns, 40 mil grenade launchers. Oh, it was fun. Yes, it was. It was highly illegal, quite highly wrong, as it really changed the whole biker culture up in Canada at the time. But, well, what do you do, right? When you live in a shoe, you carry on. And BC, having 25 or 40% of Canadian cannabis production going on, of course, BC was a target for the HA, and of course, they steamrolled there too. Yes, they did. And you know what? Now you can roll, pretty much anywhere they've got one. Find yourself a red and white store. Yeah, you're like, what the hell's that? Well, a red and white store is a Hells Angels affiliated boutique. Yes, you can go and buy Hells Angels wear. You can buy yourself hats and t-shirts and, pretty much anything else you want with Hells Angels logos on it. They're like the superstars of criminals now. There you go. But what did that do? Well, it polluted Canada with a whole bunch of problems that we never had before that, I'll tell you that. It also raised the stakes in law enforcement because now every one of these biker gangs were affiliated and networked and working together. And what did that do to the pot? Well, it didn't really do anything to the pot. No. Demand went up as the population went up, sure. And police have never really, in Canada, they say you got weed, so what? Unless you're trucking 50 pounds of it, heading for the U.S. border or heading for, Alberta or, going across Canada with it, they don't really care, And that was never clearer to me than one summer. I was hanging out down at the harbor in Vancouver. I was about 16. And, we were smoking our weed in the park there, having a good old time. Just smoking them, as we walked kind of thing. And some bike cops came by. Yeah, they came riding towards us, and I'm like, oh, shit, we're done. Because they're riding fairly fast. They're coming at you about 15, 20 miles an hour. You're on foot. You're boned. So I was like, we were smoking our stuff. We were, hauling our ghetto blasters on our shoulders and playing, I don't know, Billy Idol or whatever the music was of the time, maybe Quiet Riot. And the cops rode right by. And the funny thing was, my friend Scott had just exhaled a whole bunch of weed, and one of the cops, heads kind of flew through the cloud as he rode his bike past us. did not even turn around, didn't say anything, nothing. Just they kept going. Yeah, it's summer. We're all having a good time. Yeah. And then I was like, wow. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, right on. Let's have another one. And we did. The police had bigger fish to fry, if you get my meaning. But of course, this country's not quite like that, when they find what? Wait. Most states, if you've got, a little glass pipe, or if you've got a bong, or if you've got even rolling papers. Yeah. What about some of us cowboys out there that still like to roll our own cigarettes? Well, we can't do that anymore, because if you have rolling papers on you, the police can arrest you for carrying paraphernalia. Yes. So then what are you going to do? Now you're doing time for rolling papers. Yeah. I don't know. Differing attitudes? Yes, extremely. This whole pharmaceutical pot thing? Crash is going to side on the air of these are a bunch of initiatives that are being pushed by big drug companies. That's what this is. And some of the pot that they've got in their inventories in some of these places, it's questionable as to its strength and indeed its genome. And if you know anything about pot, you probably agree with me. And, I just don't think that that's the greatest stuff in the world. I think if you're going to legalize pot, damn well do it. Don't just sit there and say, well, we'll do it this way, but you have to go through our government licensed outlets and buy from Upjohn. That's not cool to me. Pfizer weed. You've got to buy your Pfizer weed. No, I think if it's legal, it's legal. Anybody should be able to grow it, sell it, buy it, period. There shouldn't be special places with security that looks like a bunch of mobsters, because that only leads me to other conclusions like organized crime. Or, well, to be fair, big drug companies. Because really, that's organized crime, if you want to really look at it. And yeah, that's about that right there. So listen, we're going to go for another 2-minute commercial break. When we come back, we're going to look into this whole correlation between pot and risky teen behavior. Because, of course, that's the other argument. Oh, well, our teens are going to go nuts now and start committing murders and doing all these things. And it's just, we can't have that. So that's why we can't have pot. Yeah, we'll get back into that in 2 minutes, gang.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1.
What if there was a coffee that was sourced from some of the world's most renowned growing regions? Abundant with rich, fertile soil. What if this coffee was picked at the perfect moment, then packed meticulously and shipped carefully to be roasted under the watchful eye of coffee masters? What if it was expertly blended, ground, and sealed, ensuring maximum flavor and freshness, then brewed in small batches and always served fresh within 20 minutes, just the way you like it? Now, what if this coffee just happened to be the coffee you already know and love? Tim Hortons. Always fresh. Always great tasting coffee.
White Rum has a new captain. Introducing the all-new Captain Morgan White Rum. 5 times distilled for a smoother taste.
The hot new accessory? Brows that wow. New from Maybelline, New York, it's Brow Drama, our first sculpting ball brush with tinted gel. Just sweep, then sculpt for bolder, sculpted brows. New Brow Drama. Get the look at Maybelline.com.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
this fast-paced, digital everything life, there's nothing like experiencing the world's finest journalism in its original form. So sign up today for as little as $3.80 a week to receive the greatest newspaper in the world and all the incredible experiences that come with it.
When we arrived at our hotel in New York, the porter was so incredibly careless with our bags. And the room they gave us, it was
beautiful.
A broom closet.
But the
worst part was the shower. My wife drying herself with the
Egyptian cotton towels.
Shower curtain defined that whole vacation for her. Don't just visit New York.
Visit TripAdvisor New York.
With millions of reviews, a visit to TripAdvisor makes any destination better.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
Oh, we are. Yes, we are. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be to you. Right now for me, it's 10:07 p.m. Eastern in the big city, 26 degrees and clear in Central Park. For this Tuesday, February 17th, 2015, which means, of course, you are listening to the one, the only Chris Crash Jesus Taylor on Crash Talk. Tonight, the evil drugs. Yes. No, not all the evil drugs. Nope, we're just talking about 420, baby. Pot. Weed. Hence the title of the show, Mr. Weed. Yes. So there you go. That's what's going on. So far tonight, we've talked about, of course, Colorado seeing the first benefits there of their tax dollars hard at work, the taxes they're making from their sales of medicinal marijuana. And we're talking about some of the other states that have legalized the substance. And I'm also interspersing and introspecting, if you will. I'm throwing my 42 years being right in the heart of Pot Town from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, of course, and giving you kind of a smattering, an overall direct experience, if you will, about just how kind of a lame, kind of non-issue this really is, but yet everybody in the States seems to be so scared of it. And I'm not sure why. Well, maybe, just maybe, we're going to find out right now. Because I'm going to talk about the links to possible risky teen behavior and its links to marijuana. Now, this is to actually appease all you people out there who think, oh my God, they're going to smoke the ganja, they're going to smoke the devil's root, and our society's going to collapse, and we're all going to go to hell and burn. Yeah, not pretty much any time in this reality, no. No. Well, smoking pot appears to be linked to risk-taking in youths. Yes, that's what Statistics Canada suggests. The incidence of marijuana use was 1.8 to 2.6 times higher among youth who reported participating in, quote, risky behaviors, the agency reported. Among 16 and 17-year-olds who said that they stayed out all night without permission, 72% said that they had tried smoking pot. The remaining 28%, of course, had not. Among those 16 and 17-year-olds who said they had taken money from their parents, 64% said they had tried smoking pot. Out of those who reported that they had damaged others' property, 69% said that they had smoked marijuana. The survey also found that symptoms of depression, anxiety, and distress... Ooh, that sounds like a lot what you Americans tell your doctor to get the prescription, doesn't it? Yes. Yes. Symptoms of depression, anxiety, and distress. Yes. Well, those symptoms of depression, anxiety, and distress increased among adolescents as they grew older from 1996-97 to 2000 and 2001. In 1996-97, 9% of youth aged 12 and 13 reported having symptoms of depression, Statistics Canada said. By the time these youths were 16, 17 years old, 24% reported having symptoms of depression. The survey is a joint effort involving the National Longitudinal Survey of Children and Youth, Human Resources Development Canada, and Statistics Canada. It follows the development of children and measures the incidence of various factors that influence this development, both positively and negatively. The latest results are based on preliminary analysis of information collected from youths 16 and 17 in 2000 and 2001, who were followed from the time they were aged 10 and 11 in 1994 or 95. Now, you got to kind of understand something. Stats Canada, when they do these studies and stuff, you can participate as a family, and your mom or your dad or your mom and dad will sign you up, and they'll sign the family up. I don't know. They're bored. They've seen too much Jeopardy. They want to do something new and exciting, so they sign up for these surveys. I don't know what it is, but it's a thing in Canada. And, well, we've taken, my family has taken part in these Stats Can studies before, too. And basically, the questions are, well, I guess relevant and pertinent to your life and your lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, they're all multiple choice. And, you can say pretty much whatever you want on these things. And, you have to wonder about accuracy, to be honest, with a bunch of them. I remember actually doing one when I was about 15 or 16, and I specifically answered everything wrong. Because that's what teens do. So... yeah. But, you're talking also about, 16.8% of Canadians between the ages of 15 and 65, as I told you earlier, who smoke pot on a regular basis. Okay. Our crime rates comparatively to the United States are almost non-existent. Our violent crimes comparative to the United States, again, almost non-existent. Mass shootings, non-existent. And don't talk about the Ontario shooting, because that was one dude. He didn't kill 200 people. He got one guy before he was gunned down by a retired RCMP. So, yeah, it kind of doesn't count either, does it? And you can't even include those, because those were apparently terrorism. And terrorism isn't crime, as we are talking about tonight. Terrorism is something completely different, as we all fully know and completely understand thanks to Twitter and Facebook. But I'll digress from that for now. Now, excuse me. Risky teen behavior. I'll go back to 1978. Yeah, 78. Yeah. Van Halen. Oh, yes. Where have all the good times gone? Oh, the beach parties. Oh, the pot. Actually, to be honest with you, I was more of a drinker. I enjoyed beer and my whiskey and all that kind of stuff a lot more, I would say, than any drug. But this show's about drugs. It's not about booze and Crash's good times on the beach with all those girls. No, we won't go there. Although that was, oh yeah. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Back in 1978, there was risky teen behavior. Here's the difference, though, ladies and gentlemen. Back then, we didn't strap GoPro cameras to our heads and go do the risky teen behaviors. No. We still went and did the risky behaviors, didn't we? Yes, because... And any psychologist on the planet will agree with me when I say this, and any parents out there certainly know what I'm talking about. Kids feel invincible. Okay? They do. That's a fact. It's part of that ego. Thanks. kids feel invincible, so they do amazingly stupid things. You know, let's look at the Jackass movies, huh? Yeah, you know the ones where they ride, you know, tricycles down hills in San Francisco and smash into buses and laugh, and then as the guy's getting up from being hit by a bus, one of them comes along and kicks him in the nuts, and it's all just so fun and funny. Yeah? Yeah. Jackass. Well, that kind of thing has gone on since the dawn of man. No, we may not have had those beautifully curved hills in San Francisco proper when tricycles, because we didn't have the technology for tricycles until, 1930-something. But we did that, didn't we? I used to street race. I've jumped cars before, you know, like Evel Knievel and all those guys that I looked up to when I was a kid. Yeah. Of course, there was that time I thought Evel Knievel and Elvis Presley were the same guy, and I remember my entire world shattering when I found out they're actually two different people. It still hurts me to this day. But anyway, I'll digress, because I'm doing a show here on Pod, yes. Yeah, the risky behavior's always been there. It's just that now that we've got iPhones and GoPro cameras strapped to us all the time, we're now seeing it more. Why? Because we're on the internet. And what are we doing on the internet? Well, let's be honest, people. Whether we're at home or we're at work or we're in our car, we are strapped to these devices. We are constantly staring at them. The whole thing about, I don't text and drive. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I don't Facebook and drive. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I see it every day on Interstate 80, every single day long, all on the rush into work in the morning, on the rush out at night. Every time I look over at any car, everybody's got their face in their devices. Don't even go there. So, next window. Really. So, yeah, this risky behavior, you know, that we're thinking, oh, geez, well, the risky behavior is going to lead to criminal activity. They're just going to go and grab machine guns and just mow everybody down. They're going to... No. And being a former pot smoker myself, I can tell you that you get extremely docile. You maybe want to eat. Most strains will make you just want to sleep, go nighty-night. Maybe eat first and sleep later, or just sleep. That's what it does to you. There's no, you know, I can see these big pharma companies, I can see them, you know, lacing the pot with something that'll jack you up, or, you know, put PCP in it or some other bloody thing, but I don't trust them. No, I trust the bearded tie-dye T-shirt wearing hippie who's got the trees growing out in his backyard somewhere. Yeah, because I know I can smoke that stuff and I can go to sleep, or I can smoke this stuff and have some Doritos and go to sleep. That's pretty much the sum and total of all you'd have to worry about under normal circumstances. But are we going to be talking normal circumstances? That is indeed the question. Who polices the government? That is indeed another question. And all these questions are quite important. They can't be just left to the wayside in hopes that, well, let's just legalize pot and then work on the rest later. These are things we need to look at now. And as educated people of the United States, these are some of the questions you need to be asking. Not whether or not we should legalize it. If there is any form of regulation going on, and there already is, who's overseeing that? Who's monitoring that? You know? These are some of the things we've got to ask. And rest assured, Uncle Crash can guarantee you that society will not all just fall and the world will collapse and we'll all just go to hell and everybody will be dead. It's just weed. Yeah, so that's about all I got to say on that as far as the potential for risky behavior, etc., etc. Well, that's pretty much the sum and total of the factual evidence tonight on tonight's show. I do have a little quick fun story about, which province in Canada smokes the most marijuana. Because it's, I guess it kind of only really matters to me because I used to be a British Columbian. But, it's not BC, no. Young people consume this stuff in Canada more than anywhere else in the world. A majority of citizens favor loser pot laws, and the leader of a major political party toked while in office. Yes, he did. But which Canadian province uses marijuana the most? Well, that's a question, of course, answered again by Statistics Canada. The Canadian Community Health Survey for 2012, which asked Canadians over 15 if they used either cannabis or hashish during the 12-month period before. Of course, this means the numbers reflect how many Canadians are willing to admit using pot rather than how many actually do, but the survey is useful in comparing provinces. Now, surprisingly, British Columbia was not at the top of the list. Yeah, they were not. Not even kidding. Kind of strange. And when you really look at it, yeah, okay, so the numbers won't be exact because, it's just like they say. Who is really going to cop to that, right? Who's going to, well, yeah, I smoke pot. And then, of course, do we have to look for ramifications? Are we going to lose our jobs if it's found out? Well, rest assured, none of these studies are, with your name, address, and phone number on them. They're always anonymous. You just submit them anonymously so that they can come as close as possible to, indeed, more actuating statistics than just, if they actually said, okay, well, we want your name, address, and phone number and everything else, and they'd be like, But yeah, so which is the highest smoking province? Any guesses out there? Well, if you said Ontario, you'd be bang on. That's right. Ontario, Canada. Yeah. Yeah, the biggest smokers are right there. Good old Ontario. Well, we're going to go for our final commercial break, and when I come back, I'm going to have some final thoughts on this whole thing. And again, if you want to share your thoughts, you can tweet me at CrashTalkin', or you can fire off an email at producer@htlaradio1.com and share your thoughts. We'll be back in 2 minutes, gang.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk, HTLA Radio 1.
White Rum has a new captain. Introducing the all-new Captain Morgan White Rum, 5 times distilled for a smoother taste.
The hot new accessory, brows that wow. New from Maybelline, New York, it's Brow Drama, our first sculpting ball brush with tinted gel. Just sweep, then sculpt for bolder, sculpted brows. New Brow Drama. Get the look at Maybelline.com.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Good morning. Welcome to Tim Hortons Cafe and Bake Shop, where fresh always tastes better. What can I make you this morning?
How about our new flatbread breakfast paninis? Made fresh, just for you, with your favorite breakfast ingredients on maple or multigrain flatbread, then grilled to hot, melted perfection. Just $2.99. Who couldn't warm up to that?
Tim Hortons Cafe and Bake Shop, where quality really does meet value.
In this fast-paced, digital everything life, there's nothing like experiencing the world's finest journalism in its original form. So sign up today for as little as $3.80 a week to receive the greatest newspaper in the world and all the incredible experiences that come with it.
When we arrived at our hotel in New York, the porter was so incredibly careless with our bags. And the room they gave us, It was
beautiful.
A broom closet.
But the
worst part was the shower. My wife drying herself with the
Egyptian cotton towels.
Shower curtain defined that whole vacation for her. Don't just visit New York.
Visit TripAdvisor New York.
With millions of reviews, a visit to TripAdvisor makes any destination better.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.
Well, you know we are. That's right. Welcome back to the show. 10:26 in the PM here in the big city. 25 degrees, Central Park, clear skies, and it could be a whole lot worse. So I, for one, am thankful for the weather currently. Also, this show is brought to you, as always, by Tim Hortons New York City, now with 8 locations in the city to serve all your coffee and baked good needs. Get on down there and see them. Tim Hortons New York. Also, what else do I got to mention here? Oh, not much. Yes, and some of you were wondering, geez, the show sounds pretty good tonight. Is Jenny actually in the booth pushing those buttons, or is he winging it tonight? And the answer, of course, to the question is, she is in the booth pushing the buttons and making us sound awesome as always, because I can't do it or something. I screwed up big time last night, but hey, if you're a listener, you know that. Today's show, Crash Talk, we are, of course, talking about Mr. Weed. Yes, the 420, the ganja man. Yes. And it's impending illegalization everywhere, because it seems to be going that way with gay marriage and everything else. Well, geez, if we got all that too, we've got to have our pot. So I've just been, giving you guys some facts tonight, giving you some current stories, giving you some of my experiences personally living in pot kingdom for 42 of my years. Yes. And, just kind of going from there, kind of trying to let you all know out there that the world's not going to go to hell in a handbasket if we've got some weed. It's really not. It's about as innocuous and terrible and, well, no, not innocuous. That's the wrong word. What the hell am I thinking? Well, I'm just trying to convey that it's like potentially getting murdered with a Nerf bat. Sure, it might be possible, but man, that's going to be one hell of a long, painful death, let me tell you. Because, no, it's not too likely. But what are some of those warning signs? What are some of those things that could affect our society here in the United States negatively? Well, like I've said before in the show, it could make you eat more and become sedentary. But also, as I've outlined in the show, you guys all just pretty much eat and are pretty sedentary anyway. So I don't really see that changing anything. Also, I've reminded you that the pharmaceutical companies have their hands in, you can be sure, of the legalized medical marijuana outlets. I'm quite certain to make sure that we need to really keep an eye on this stuff. It's no different than, well, hell, in the 1950s. Hey, you know what? Guess what? Here's the thing. Back in the 50s, what were doctors telling us? Hey, yeah, you can smoke. This is good for your throat. I remember those Camel commercials. Oh, yes, we pulled 30 people and made them smoke Camels for a month, and we checked their throat for irritation, and there was none. Well, what have we learned in 50, 60, 70-odd years now? Well, what have we learned? Apparently it's cancer-causing. But then apparently so many things are cancer-causing. Apparently we can't have trans fats anymore. Apparently we can't have gluten anymore. Who came up with that one? Gluten is a part of the wheat kernel. Okay? I've known farmers living on wheat all their lives. Didn't see them drop dead from a heart attack. Seen them drop dead from hard work. Yes, I have. But a heart attack from eating gluten? Hell no. So how come we can't eat it? They're changing our foods. Who is changing our foods? Who oversees the food? And indeed, in this particular case, about medical marijuana and or just legal pot full stop, who's overseeing those distributors? Like I said, I would sooner go to my friend in the tie-dyed shirt who's got some plants out in his back 40 and buy a bag off him than I would any of these boutiques, Starbucks-looking pot stores. Yeah. Chocolate and vanilla in your pot. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong. I'm not against anybody's right to go and be creative and come up with new flavors of pot that are strawberry and vanilla and all this stuff. No, you go for it. And if you can find a market of people that want to suck strawberry pot, fill your boots. I hope you do well. I, however, would just stick to my good old Mexican red hair or my Thai stick and have it straight up, thank you, with no flavoring or artificial anything. Just give me my weed. That's all I want. Well, there you go, gang. There's another 90 minutes of fun right there. We are out of time, of course, as always. I never get... I should do like a 7-hour show every week. Crash Talk, 7 hours. I'll actually get a whole thought out. I'd like to thank HTLA Radio 1, as always, for having me. Oh, so many different, dirty, disgusting ways she has me, too. I'd like to thank Jenny McCartney, hanging out in the booth, making this sound good. Also like to thank, all of you, the listeners, for coming out and checking out Crash Talk every week. Brings a tear to my eye. I absolutely love it. Tune in tomorrow. Coffee and Cigarettes, 3 p.m. Eastern for the Wednesday Grinder. Yes, there's another show all about more addictions. Coffee and cigarettes. And, what else we got going on? We got a couple other things going on this week, including, possibly, maybe, Home Talk on Friday. That's the big word so far. We'll see. Other than that, we'll catch you all later.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.